right, everyone, let's dive right in. Today we're tackling how to choose a security company using Your Guide to Security Companies in NYC by JC Protection LLC.
Oh, interesting. Using a guide by a security company to, well, choose a security company.
Yeah, you'd think that's like the fox guarding the hen house, wouldn't you? But the author, Clifford Strong, he's the company's CEO, and he actually gives some surprisingly objective advice.
I see. So they're kind of pulling back the curtain and showing you
That's
how
right.
it all works.
Exactly. Makes you wonder why they do that, huh?
Right. What's their angle?
Maybe they're just that good, confident enough to share the secrets.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the first thing that stood out to you?
Well, the first big point they hit is experience. And
Hmm.
not just any experience, they really emphasize local knowledge.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially in a city like New York.
Right. I mean, I get that experience is important in any field, but why is it so crucial for security companies in a place like New York City?
Well, think about it. New York isn't just any city, is it? I mean, it's this massive, complex place. Each borough, each neighborhood, it's got its own, like, personality, its own rhythm.
And its own security challenges, right?
Absolutely. So a company that only knows, say, textbook security, they're going to miss all those nuances, all the little things that make New York, well, New York.
It's like expecting a doctor who trained in the tropics to understand the health challenges of someone living in, like, Alaska, completely different environments, right?
Exactly. You need someone who knows the streets, knows the people, knows the vibe of each neighborhood.
So it's not just about muscle, it's about, like, street smarts, right?
You got it. The guide actually says that knowing the boroughs, the crime hotspots, even the local lingo, it can be as important as knowing how to, handle a physical threat.
Okay, so local knowledge, check. The next thing that jumped out at me was the guide's warning about low prices. We all love a good deal, but is bargain hunting really the best approach when it comes to something as important as security?
Oh, that's a good point. You know what they say, you get what you pay for. And when it comes to security, cutting corners can have some pretty serious consequences.
Right, like imagine choosing a surgeon based solely on who gives you the cheapest quote. That's kind of scary, isn't it?
Yeah, you wouldn't do that with your health, so why do it with your security? It's about peace of mind, right?
Exactly. Okay, so we've established that experience and fair pricing are key. Now, the guide talks about going beyond just emergency response. Can you explain what they mean by that?
Sure. Think of it this way. Do you just want to put out fires, or do you want to prevent them from starting in the first place?
Prevention is always better than a cure, right?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about being proactive, about anticipating threats, and putting measures in place to deter them. They call it a layered security approach.
Layered security, what does that mean?
Well, think of it like a medieval castle, right? You got the moat, the walls, the guard towers. Each layer adds another level of protection. It's not just about having a single line of defense. It's about making it as difficult as possible for a threat to succeed.
Okay, so it's not just about having a bunch of guards standing around, it's about a more holistic approach.
Exactly. The guide talks about combining different security measures so they work together, like a well-oiled machine. They specifically mention things like CCTV cameras.
But not just any cameras, right? They talk about placement, different types of cameras, features like night vision. It's about using technology intelligently. What else?
Yeah, and they also mention automatic locks, sophisticated surveillance systems, even body cameras on the guards themselves.
So it's about having the physical presence of guards and the technological backup of surveillance and access control.
You got it. They're saying it's all about creating this security ecosystem where all these elements work together. And it's not just about the tech, it's about the people too. The guide makes a big deal about transparency, especially when it comes to the guards themselves.
So, like, knowing who you're dealing with.
Exactly. They say a reputable company should be upfront about their hiring practices, their training procedures, everything. They specifically mention making sure the guards are properly licensed by the New York State Department of State.
Okay, so it's not just about having, like, a bunch of guys in uniform. It's about knowing they've been vetted, right?
Absolutely. You don't want just anyone with a badge and a flashlight guarding your property.
It's like checking a doctor's credentials before surgery. You want to make sure they know what they're doing.
Right. And speaking of knowing what they're doing, the guide stresses the importance of ongoing training.
Makes sense. Security's not exactly a static field, is it?
Not at all. New threats, new technologies, it's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
A good security company invests in keeping their guards up to date. It's like a software update for your security system.
So it's not just about ticking a box on a license application, it's about a commitment to continuous improvement.
Exactly. Now, we've talked about experience, pricing, proactive strategies, transparency, qualified personnel. But there's one more thing that really stood out to me in the guide, the emphasis on customized solutions. What's your take on that?
Yeah, they really hammer that home, don't they?
They do. They're basically saying that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to security. Every client, every situation, it's unique.
Okay, so it's not just about throwing a bunch of guards and tech at a problem, it's about a more tailored approach.
Right. They talk about things like risk assessments, vulnerability analysis, really understanding the client's needs before even proposing a solution.
It's like a doctor taking your medical history before prescribing medication, right?
Exactly. It's about diagnosis before treatment. Security isn't just about muscle and gadgets. It's about strategy, planning, and tailoring the approach to fit the specific needs of the client. Now, at this point, our listeners probably thinking, okay, this is all great information, but where do I even start looking for a company that does all of this? It can feel a bit overwhelming, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot to consider. Where do you even begin?
Well, the guide itself offers a subtle suggestion, wouldn't you say?
Oh, you mean the fact that it's published by JC Protection LLC?
Exactly. They're a security company based in New York City, and based on what they've outlined in the guide, they seem to practice what they preach.
Right. They offer a range of services from construction site security to retail security, even personal protection.
And based on their website, they are indeed licensed by the New York State Department of State, which, as we've discussed, is a crucial starting point.
Plus, they talk about their commitment to customized solutions, ongoing staff training. They even have testimonials from satisfied clients. It definitely seems like they're trying to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Of course, it's always a good idea to do your own research, compare different companies, read reviews, talk to other businesses that have used security services. Don't just take anyone's word for it.
Totally agree. Get multiple perspectives, make sure you're comfortable with your choice.
But you got to admit, for a security company to lay out such a comprehensive guide to choosing a security company, it kind of makes you want to take a closer look at them, right?
It definitely gives you a benchmark to measure other companies against. So we've covered a lot of ground here: experience, pricing, proactive strategies, transparency, qualified personnel, customized solutions. But as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, there's one more thing I want to highlight. It's something the guide sort of dances around but never explicitly states.
Oh, I'm all ears. What is it?
It's the idea that even with the best security company, the most advanced tech, the most highly trained guards, security is not something you can fully outsource.
You're right. There's a personal responsibility element that often gets overlooked.
It's about being aware of your surroundings, taking basic precautions, and maybe most importantly, having a security mindset.
That's an excellent point. You can't just passively rely on someone else to handle your security. You need to be an active participant in creating a safe and secure environment.
It's like, yeah, we can give you all the tools, the manpower, the expertise, but ultimately you're the one in control. You're responsible.
That's a really empowering message, especially coming from a security company. I mean, they could easily just try to scare you into hiring them, play up all the dangers and make you feel vulnerable.
Right. But they're not doing that. They're actually saying, hey, we're here to help, but you got to meet us halfway.
Exactly. It's like they're saying, we're partners in this. That builds trust, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Shows they care about more than just making a profit.
I think so. Okay, so to sum up our deep dive into the world of security companies, what are the main takeaways for our listener?
Well, the first thing is, don't underestimate the importance of this decision. Choosing a security company is a big deal.
It's not just about, like, picking a new coffee shop. This is about your safety, your peace of mind.
Absolutely. It's an investment, an investment in your future, your well-being.
And like we've been talking about, it's not just about finding the company with the most intimidating guards or the coolest gadgets.
It's about finding a partner, someone who gets you, someone you can trust, someone who's transparent, who invests in their people as much as their tech.
We talked about experience, right? Especially local knowledge. That's crucial.
Oh, yeah. Knowing the streets, knowing the city, that's invaluable.
And remember, when it comes to security, you usually get what you pay for.
Don't be tempted to go for the cheapest option.
You got to weigh the costs and benefits. What's your peace of mind worth?
Right. And don't forget about being proactive. Don't wait for something bad to happen before you take security seriously.
It's about prevention, isn't it? Building a strategy that anticipates threats.
Like we said, layered security. Think of it like building a house.
Hmm.
You wouldn't just focus on the front door, right? You got to secure the windows, the roof, everything. It's all connected.
Great analogy. And finally, and maybe this is the most important thing, remember, you're not off the hook just because you've hired a security company.
It's a team effort.
You still got to be aware, you got to take precautions, you got to have that security mindset.
Exactly. Security, it's not just a service, it's a way of life.
It's about being engaged, being proactive, taking responsibility for your own safety.
It's about empowerment,
Yeah.
you know? It's about knowing you have the power to make a difference.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe a question for our listeners to ponder. What aspects of security are most important to you personally, and how can you actively participate in your own safety, even if you are working with a security company?
That's a great question. Lots to think about there.
We hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought, some tools to help you navigate this complex world.
Knowledge is power, right? The more you know about security, the better equipped you are to make informed decisions.
Absolutely. So until next time, stay safe out there.
And stay informed. Keep learning.